Hi guys, it's Nikki. I'm here to give you today part 2 of the Ready Player One review. This is the second part, which means that it's the spoiler-filled part. So this is where I rant, chat, discuss just issues I had with the book, things I found interesting, or just my general thoughts on the novel. Hope you enjoy. Here we go. First thing that caught my eye when I was reading was the technology, specifically the VR technology. And just the fact that he talked about lasers specifically kind of like being directed at the back of the retinas. And given what I know about lasers, that sounded really dangerous. And even if they'd used low-level ones, I was worried about the fallout for the eyes. But apparently, eye-safe lasers do exist, and they're currently being used in an attempt to get our current VR stuff to go farther. They're using them right now as something to create more efficient VR goggles by using the lasers to allow for eye tracking, which would allow for better user interfaces, which I think would change kind of the processing power needed for VRs and maybe make it more accessible. That being said, my physics knowledge and my computer knowledge are not strong enough to be able to answer this for sure. So although, yes, eye-safe lasers do exist, I have no idea if we can use them how Wade describes them being used. I don't know if they exist like that yet. I just found it interesting that such a thing, or that was at least similar, existed, and that it was already being used for VR, or to improve upon our VR. And I just found that really interesting after my concern was kind of dealt with. And that moves me on to just another little thing. Again, not really important. It didn't impact my enjoyment of the book. But James Halliday and Ogden Morrow, are they supposed to be parallels to Jobs and Wozniak? Like, I thought I was going a little bit crazy whenever I kept drawing the parallel in my mind while I was reading, until you get to the part where they talk about Ogden's avatar being called the Og. And that instantly made me think of Wozniak and how people call him the Woz. And that's when I was like, really got into that whole like conspiracy theory parallel thing. Like, if you agree with me or disagree or even just have a better parallel, let me know in the comments below. I'm just really curious. I can't be the only one that noticed this or drew this parallel, really. I'm sure it's very obvious to most people, and I just think it's weird and that I didn't notice it the first time through. I'm gonna move on to the big H reveal. And I loved this part of the story. I loved her backstory. I loved the twist that it was a she and not a he. And just, I loved that all of the choices she made in regards to this twist, like in terms of hiding it, were very active and deliberate actions. It wasn't just, oh, I fell into this because of the situation. It was, I thought about it and I did this specifically, and I really liked that. And the first time I read this book, I was taken aback a little bit. Not in the sense that it was just like, how could they do this? It was just like, oh, I guess I expected some of it, but not all of it. Because I knew there was something up with H when they said something about, when they commented about, oh, I'm not the same in real life, blah, 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 which is pretty standard with this kind of avatar-based system. But I really liked with H how leading up to it, you knew something was going to be very different. I had actually guessed when I read it that she was going to be a girl. But what I didn't guess was that she was also going to be a person of color, and that her sexuality would be different. And by different, I specifically mean she was a homosexual instead of heterosexual, which is not a big deal. Just up to that point, we'd been under the assumption that she was a heterosexual male based on the interactions that they had in the private chat room. And I did enjoy that they had kind of, I guess, I enjoyed that they had that representation. Was it necessarily the best representation of it? Probably not. But I also can't speak on it because I fall really not into either of those categories. I am a Caucasian, cis, heterosexual female, so I really don't fall into those two categories in any respect. So I don't know how well represented it was, but I liked that the character had so many different facets to them. And one of the things I liked most specifically about this reveal was, even though they had a first kind of awkward interaction, kind of feeling each other out after the reveal, I loved that the author just had Wade accept H as she was. And it's like, yeah, you know what? No, this is silly. This is my best friend. I know them. Like, yes, they don't look the same, but I don't look the same. And I really appreciated that they had them stay really good friends, and that friendship continued to blossom and just be there. And like I said, I just really appreciated that the author wrote it like that. It meant a lot to be able to see that kind of relationship stay that way. The other thing I really liked, like I said, was that everything that she did was very deliberate, a deliberate decision. Like, it sucked that she and her mother found that being this cis Caucasian male was the easiest way to deal with people in terms of business and working. Like, yes, that sucked, but I'm glad they manipulated it to their advantage. And they used it to get what they needed. And the way she handles herself online and how she handles herself in real life, like, my heart goes out to her. I would not envy anybody living in a trailer home for however many months or years it had been. But I like that she essentially picked like the lesser of two evils and was making a good go of it there, and really like leaned into her character, what got her the most success, and really used it to her advantage. And I just, like I said, I really liked it. It was a good twist. It was very active decision making. It wasn't just stumbling into situations and going from there because they just happened to land on their feet. And I really enjoyed that. And then we move on to my final topic. It is IOI. They did it, like, Ernest Cline did a really good job describing and fleshing out the skeleton and the, for lack of a better term, like the stereotype of the Eagle mega corporation that was just very greedy with capitalist agendas and all that jazz. The only thing that bugged me was that, like, none of the employees seemed to have alternate motivations. Like, you could make the argument that Sorrento had alternate motivations, but he just came off as being, like, very extra. He was extra crazy, extra greedy, and extra unscrupulous. So he was just kind of like an anomaly, because the body's there to fill the spots with the Sixers. None of them really, they just seem to be employees, and I guess that's really what they are, just corporate drones. But it did make me a little sad that none of them really seemed to have an alternate motivation. Like, one thing I thought of is like, oh, are you helping them because you believe in the cause of monetizing Oasis? Or are you just unscrupulous yourselves? Do you just not care kind of who gets domination? And you just want the stability of one or the other getting it, and you just chose one side? Or do you have completely selfish motivations where you picked IOI specifically because statistically they were more likely to win, they had more power, they had more resources, like just all of these things going for them, so you just went to the side that you thought was going to win, on top of these other selfish motivations like making as much money off of getting to the end as possible regardless of whether or not they won. And that leads me just into kind of my final little ironic observation, and that was that IOI, although for the wrong reasons, was trying to finish the game the way Halliday wanted. Because with that final gate, you needed 3 keys to finish, and he wanted you to be able to do it with friends. And I immediately thought of Dungeons and Dragons, because that is one of the nerdiest games in the history of our society, really. and you needed friends to play, and that's how the egg hunt was. This Easter egg was a quest you needed to finish with your friends. And I thought it so funny that IOI was the group that was completing it as a team, even if it wasn't necessarily with the intentions that Halliday wanted. They were doing it the way he wanted. And the Gunters, like, very few of them did it as teams. So many of them were trying to get it for themselves and get that fame and fortune for themselves. And it just, while the motivations were all the same, I just thought it was ironic that IOI were the ones to try to do it as a team first, before Wade and H and Artemis kind of did it together. And that really sums up my review of the book. Again, I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I know it's not for everyone, but for anybody interested, I hope that you will read it. If you have not read the book and watched this, I hope that these spoilers haven't turned you off, because I really didn't even scratch the surface. These are just specific things that I found while reading. So for anybody who read the book and watched this, let me know what you think below. Do you agree with me in any of this? What do you think of the book? Did I miss anything that you thought was really important? I'm excited to get talking to people, because that's why I did this. I want to talk to people about books. So tell me what you think, and I'll do what I can to talk back. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I hope you tune in next time for my second video. And that second video is going to be the movie review of the movie that was based off of this book. Hopefully it goes well, but we'll see. Hey guys, it's Nikki. I'm just here to announce my first virtual book club of the month book. I will be reviewing it at the end of January if you want to join me. And this month's book is 99 Red Balloons, and it's by Elisabeth Carpenter. It sounds really good. Sounds a little bit like a thriller, kind of psychological thriller. I'm excited to dig in, and I hope you guys are too. I'll see you at the end of the month and to tell you what I thought. Bye!